Well, we've been at this for a couple of hours now, setting pavers on the driveway. Things are starting to pick up now a little bit. Of course, it does take a little while to get to this point, because you do want to make sure that your base is perfectly set before you begin. Then you want to be right on when you spike in the first few pieces of edging. Dumping in sand and spreading that around isn't necessarily a time consumer, but it is a little more exacting when you start screeding that out with a couple 1-inch pipes as your guides. But with a good start like that, you are then ready to set some pavers. But before we get too far, let's take a look at what we're using. It's a traditional style called Cambridge. Has kind of slightly rounded edges, a lot like a cobblestone you might find on a street in the 1800s. We are using a color blend of 2 colors, gray and charcoal, known as pewter, and 4 different sizes, which we have a large rectangle, small rectangle, square, and what we're fondly calling a Twinkie. The pattern comes from a list that the paver guys gave us, and we are using pattern B. I have some pieces laid out here for reference. Now, since everything is based on 3- and 6-inch increments, it's relatively easy to lay out once you get the hang of it. And since this is a square 1.5 feet, multiply this by 1,000 and we'll be done with the driveway.
Now, it always takes a while to kind of get up and running, but the whole goal is to get a big pad started. We started against the the garage side of the house. We got our square line going. We're constantly checking it. We have the pad established. Now we can start moving. And the whole key is to lay it diagonal. So you're laying like pavers all at the same time, so you don't get mixed up with this pattern. It's a fun pattern, but it's a lot of different pieces. Get your diagonals set up, check yourself all the time, and keep moving.
I touched on this before, but staging is huge. And we have 4 different sizes. We're keeping a pallet of each size here in the garage, so as we move out into the driveway, it's real easy to grab product. I don't have to go very far to take any size that I want. We'll try to do this as we move across the driveway out to the street. I'll tell you, it's just, it's called working smart. It's a huge consideration really because the bigs are almost 10 pounds each. Even the small ones are 3.5 pounds. Individually not too bad, but all together we have about 40 tons of material. And you start moving that to the wrong place in the driveway, that's a lot of extra work.
There are a few different reasons why it's important to put down 1 inch of bedding sand here. One, of course, is for a nice flat surface for our pavers. Also, when we tamp it down, we're going to have some of the sand come up from the bottom to help lock them in place. And then lastly, we're also going to have a nice drain field so that any moisture that comes down can go through the sand before it hits our base.
One thing about a paver project is that you need bodies. You need setters, sanders, cutters.
And today, my position, it seems like every paver job we do is the cut man. I'm going around and finishing up all the cuts around the edge, and by doing that, it locks everything together. So when we're all done, I put that last piece in. It's one big slab.
Right about there, Dan, looks good. Okay, one important thing to do as you work your way across the driveway is to make sure that you check to make sure that we're running straight and square. I'm using a string line to do that. And if you find that you need to tweak things a little bit, you can use your adjuster. Just go ahead and make sure that each stone is looking good, and we'll be good to go.
All right, now we're doing a soldier course around the entire driveway. Now, rather than just using one size for the entire soldier, which kind of makes it stick out a little bit more. Sometimes it's kind of nice to accent the whole driveway with a border. We're trying to do something that sort of blends in with everything else. So we're using all the pieces in the soldier course, the 6-inch width, all the way down. I think it should be a nice way to go.
There's many different ways to set pavers. The way I like to do it is that you take the paver, slide it along the side, straight down. You don't want to dig into the sand. That sand is precious. So just take it, drop it, push it down. That's it, pretty easy.
Well, we're off to a pretty good start here. We'll just kind of keep working our way over here and then just start heading right up toward the street. How's that looking, guys? So you're gonna bring it over this way a little bit.